Haiti is a very, 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 very important island in the Pan-African struggle. Haiti brings pride to Africans who know history. In 1803, Haiti was the most democratic country in the world. It was the only country in the world that did not allow slavery on its borders. The only country in the world in 1803. Once you properly understand this history, because you know these capitalist pigs have such a way of making it appear as if we've never done anything as Africans. We don't know democracy. We don't know democracy. In 1803, Africans gave the freest world, the freest nation to the entire world. The only country in the world that did not allow slavery was Haiti. And not only did not allow it, but the only country in the world that put its natural resources towards fighting against any oppression was Haiti. Simon Bolivar, who liberated South America, anyone who knows the history knows it was Haiti that gave him the money, outfitted him with ships to start the struggle. And the Haitians demanded only one thing of Bolivar: when you free Venezuela, when you free Colombia, when you free Argentina, when you free Peru, free the slaves. The only condition of which they required of Simon Bolivar. This is history. You can't hide the truth, and if you know your history, you look for history, you will find it. You can imagine the threat that that Haiti imposed upon America since 1803. There was nothing that American imperialism. One other thing I must tell you. From this period, 1803, Haiti fought every major European power, the Americans, the French, the Spanish, the Germans, the Portuguese, all of them, trying to bring Haiti down, and not one of them could make Haiti renege on her democratic principles. On that country, there would never be on that territory a slave. Every man, every woman was free. You just make it to Haiti and you're free, no slavery. Everywhere else, there was slavery. Everywhere else. In the great America, they were, let's not talk about that. So anyway, you could imagine the threat that Haiti posed. American imperialism, all of its life, had only one objective: to bring those slaves back onto the plantation. There was only one objective: bring those slaves back to the plantation. And America, France, all of them could not bring Haiti back to the plantation. Even after slavery was made illegal throughout the Western Hemisphere and was even abandoned and emancipation proclamations were read everywhere, Haiti continued to be the guiding inspiration for Africans throughout the Western Hemisphere. It was not until 1915 that American imperialism could put the heels of the Marines on Haiti, install Papa Doc, a scum of our race, one who would bow down to the wishes of imperialism and rape his people without the slightest mercy. And since then, that's where Haiti has been, and that's where it is to this day. And it's certainly not Bill Clinton who's going to liberate it, just the masses of Africans.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night. Whichever one applies, this is your man, HRap coming at you live and direct. Thank you for tuning in. This is the End of the Bench podcast called Build and Destroy, where I build up the community and try to destroy the propaganda and the lies that surround our community. Now, thank you for tuning in. It's always great to see you. I'm glad that you've taken time to tune in and listen to the things that I have to say today. It should be interesting. I have a lot going on right now, and our community has a lot going on. There we go. Got to turn on. Now, before I start this show, I like to let you know that this is a podcast. The reason I let you know that is because people consistently tell me they miss my show. It is impossible to miss my show. My show is available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on Spreaker.com. It is on Spreaker.com, Built for This Network. It is on YouTube, same title, Built for This Network. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, and Amazon Prime Podcast. You can catch me at any location. Now, if you're looking at me on YouTube, then you just hit the button, the like button. Right next to the like button is a subscribe button. Right next to the subscribe button, there's a little bell for notifications. You'll get a notification each and every time I go live. That way you won't miss anything, and that way you will always have a place to go back to. Now, as I do every week, I pay homage to my family. My family, without my family, there is no me, there is no podcast, there is nothing. Therefore, I salute them every week. Everybody in my family that is connected to the Whitmore, DePollard, Turner, Battle, Cotton, Harper, Bailey, Shaw, Thompson, Chris, Lansdowne Liggins Duncan, and you know me, my mother, my brothers, and my sisters, my nieces, nephews, cousins, neighbors, anybody who's helped me throughout life. We are in the building. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, with that being said, man, the guy that you saw at the beginning of the show, he was born Stokely Carmichael. He passed away and changed his name to Kwame Ture. He was a African revolutionary because he didn't believe in calling us black. We are Africans. We come from the continent of Africa. Each and every one of us. If you are if you have melanated dominant skin, you are from Africa. You are an African. Just like all those last names, I am each one of those names because they are in my blood. You are African. The reason I played that is because a week ago, I think it was a week ago today, the Haitian president was assassinated. Now, there's two things that happen when assassinations happen. You will see glee in the streets. Even if it's misguided, you'll see glee in the street because you'll go, hey, this guy must have been a tyrant. And the people who was under his rule, they're rejoicing. Or you see complete silence, which brings about questions. Those questions remain. Who ordered this hit? Who's behind this hit? And I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. But what I am going to do is talk to you about us. We are Africans, as I just stated. The Haitians have African heritage. And we have betrayed them as a community. And if you want to know how, I'll get to that shortly. But I want to give you a little history on Haiti. Haiti is the most important country to Africans in the Western Hemisphere. If you don't agree, do a little research. You'll find out why I said it. And I'm going to give you information. But do your own research. Look up Haiti. Look up 1810 to be exact. That's the beginning of the Haitian Revolution. The reason me and others believe the Haitian community is the most important black community in the Western Hemisphere, including North, South, Central America, and the Caribbean, is because, as he stated, they're the first country to abolish slavery. How did they abolish slavery? Haiti used to be a port. First and foremost, let's pronounce it correctly. It's Haiti. If you could pronounce it Haiti, you're using your American sensibilities. It is Haiti. And Haiti, first country to be inhabited by Africans, that those Africans said enough and successfully overthrew the government. It used to be a port in which they dropped off Africans, broke them, buck breaking is what they call it. And then you shipped them off to South America, Central America, the United States, Canada, and throughout the world, right? Now, these people said enough. Without Haiti overthrowing the government and Napoleon, who was the leader of the French army, he was basically the ruler, emperor of France. Haiti did that. Napoleon had to do what is called a land exchange with the United States of America. And he sold the land. The Louisiana Purchase is what it's most popularly known as. And that's what led to this country that you call the United States of America. Otherwise, Napoleon keeps rule of a large part of the country, and we know what happens. We don't know what happens after that. But when our people in Haiti took over that island and forced Napoleon to sell land because his soldiers were defeated, that was the creation of the United States of America. This is another example of without us, there is no U.S. We built it. We fought for it. We created the possibility for you to even purchase more land. So without us, what would the United States of America be? See, we have been taught time and time again that we're a secondary part of this nation. If you watch the show on Mondays, me, my man Wilkes, Dog, and my man Ben, the forecast, you would have watched a show called Hound the Hog, and it shows you how American cuisine is primarily African cuisine. I will continue to show you how looking like this is a major reason this country is so great, quote unquote great. Because without us, There is no great United States of America. There is no, hey man, this is the greatest country in the world. We created it, we built it, and we need the credit for it. And the reason I say we sold Haiti out is because talk to a friend or two. After the show, I want you to talk to a friend or two. And I want you to ask them, hey man, what would you like to go on vacation? You're gonna hear all throughout the Caribbean. You're gonna hear Dubai, you're gonna hear France, you're gonna hear Italy, but you never hear about Haiti. Haiti is one of the most beautiful countries on the planet. Yeah, you see poverty, when you see the brochures and the propaganda, you see poverty and things of that nature when you see Haiti, right? But that's just like Africa. For years, if you were a certain age, for years, all you saw was flies flying around our brothers and sisters' heads when you saw Africa, right? But now that we got the internet, you can see Africa in all its glory. You can find out that Nigeria and Ghana before this pandemic uh, uh, had the uh, uh, two largest technological advances came out of those two countries. So stop thinking poorly when you think of our homelands or where our relatives are at, and start understanding this is just propaganda. Just imagine if every time we thought about going somewhere else overseas, we went down to Haiti and invested that same money into that country. A lot of us don't even realize that you go, oh, I ain't going to Haiti because it's horrible, and then it's connected. It's an island. It's a country connected to the island that you love called the Dominican Republic. What if we just went to the other side? We have to stop allowing people to basically tell us what's good and what's not good. Haiti is struggling, and I'm gonna change the clothes that I wear because of Haiti. I'm from West Side Chicago. I was born on West Side Chicago. I was raised on North Side Chicago. Levi jeans are a staple. Levi jeans didn't want to give these people $2 a day to work in those factories because they did a study and found out $2 a day would pull these people out of poverty. So guess who's not going to be buying Levi jeans anymore? Me. Because what we have to do is take the necessary steps to help our brothers and sisters over there. You got a president that was just assassinated. And one of the things that has been leaked out is the people who came into his home. It wasn't at the president's home. It was his actual home. He lived in one of the better suburbs on the island. They said we're DEA. This gives me cause to pause. It makes me wonder who is truly behind this hit. So again, it's another opportunity for people to make us look bad and people to destroy something that we have. When I say we, yeah, I am. Was I born in Haiti? No, I'm not. But guess what? Because only 4% of the people who were put in bondage. Give me a second. Only 4% of the people who were put in bondage were brought to the United States of America. You don't know who is related to you on Haiti. We are, sorry for the technical difficulties. I apologize. We are suffering the damn results of what's going on in Haiti. It is a perfect example of what we need to do in regards to supporting each other and supporting people all over the world that look like us. See, we continue to force our money down other people's throats, like with the civil rights movement. I don't have anything bad to say about our ancestors who fought for civil rights in the United States of America, but I think you should have taken a page out of our brother Malcolm X and been fighting for human rights. Civil rights is just civilian rights. Who says you're a civilian? That they can right away, they can revoke your citizenship anytime they want to. The Dred Scott decision showed you that. But when you're looking at a situation to where as you fight for human rights, that means everybody who's a human being on the earth needs to get these same respects. So what we need to do is do a shift in power. We consistently feed our oppressor. We do. The people who take opportunities out of our kids' mouth, the people who remove academic opportunities from our children, like defunding art, defunding things like civics class, defunding music, defunding anything academic at our schools and then we go buy these things to invest in them and not invest in us. We must, at the end of the day, find. I told y'all, go and look up this application. I need y'all to look up this application on your phone. Official Black Wall Street. Every time you drive past a black-owned business, you'll get the alert. Hey, black-owned business right there. So you will know what you need to do. We must do this because if you're tired of being told what to do, being passed over, this is all you have to do. Stop buying Gucci. Stop spending money on Mercedes. Stop getting all these expensive things and start investing into people who are in your community so they can hire you. And then once we build a community throughout the United States of America, then we can go back and do what we want to do. You can eat AIDS. They're African car ownerships. They create cars over there. They create cars over there as well. So what we must do is continue to stop continuously putting money into our oppressors' pocket and find good people that are supporting us, that will support us every single solitary day. There's no way to avoid this. You know, as I say on just about every show, we always like to quote, well, we were like this community, we were like that community, we were like, look, what we can do is create a situation to whereas we don't have to be like anyone and we could just be like us because we created math, we created science, we created astrology, we created writing and the alphabet. That's inside of you. And I see a friend in the chat room. She's gonna be a guest on the show soon, and you'll see how that ability to overcome any adversarial point in your life is inculcated in your soul. And you, as long as you know it's there, you'll be able to activate that quote unquote superpower. You know, a lot of people call it superpower, and hey, at the end of the day, it is. Your greatness is built inside of you, and it doesn't need to be released by anybody but you. So as long as we continue to feed the beast that's kicking us in the behind, we can't really complain. And we're not going to, like Sister Karen Hunter said recently, no more bitching, it's time to start building. So I need us to invest in us and use us and stop making excuses like, oh, when I went to the one black-owned business, they treated me wrong. And you've been to McDonald's and been disrespected, Burger King, you've been to Macy's, Marshall Fields, Carson's, Target, and Walmart and been disrespected equally, but you go in there freely and just get them your money. Look, I understand there are necessities that are needed, and the only way you can get them is using other cultures to get them to you. My ask is only to use our resources as well. And if you don't believe me, just understand. Look, yesterday we saw a dude fail miserably. He failed. Well, he didn't fail miserably. We saw him fail at an attempt at space travel. He told people, he got people to get him a couple $100,000, and he said he was going to take them on a space ride. He took them a couple thousand miles higher than traditional airplane does. You understand? And the world didn't say he failed. They just said, hey, that was pretty cool. Nah, the Wright brothers didn't get off the ground for a few seconds and then crash, burn, or go to the ground. They flew an airplane. And this guy tricked people. And mainstream media, just like they always do, unless they're talking about somebody in the disenfranchised community, they said, okay, cool, that was great, but it wasn't great. But as you see, when they're speaking about their culture, they will tell you anything. Everything is great. This guy got a little higher than a southwestern plane. The people got to see the planet as you look down, and everybody's happy. But that was a failure. But nobody said it was a failure. They just said, hey, that was a great opportunity, and I inspired somebody else. So who exactly did this guy inspire? Seriously? Who did you inspire, sir? Are there some billionaire kids out there that's going to try to create their own airline to travel throughout space? No, you didn't inspire anybody. Now, in regards to science, it is wonderful that you got out there, blah, blah, blah. But you were telling people you're going to go to Mars and you're going to give people opportunities to fly to other planets and to the moon. And all you didn't even get outside the ozone layer. Because Had you did it and not gone back in efficiently, you'd have burned up. But they don't tell you that. They don't tell you. Elon Musk, that was a failure. But when we fall short, everything is highlighted. Everything is highlighted. And speaking of highlighting, there's been a rash of violence throughout the entire country. Ever since the world opened back up, we haven't been acclimated to interacting socially with others, so people have been acting with an extreme amount of violence. I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist, and I'm gonna openly say that. But I just wonder, what is it that are we really to believe that people that look like me and you, we're the only people that's doing this? I don't think so. Look, one thing about being in impoverished areas, people gossip in impoverished areas. People definitely gossip in impoverished areas. But when you live in an impoverished area and something happens, like what happened in Chicago this weekend at Cook County Jail for all things. Cook County Jail, a young man, he's a rapper. He was released in front of the biggest correctional facility in Cook County. This is the Cook County Jail. He walks out and gets shot 68 times. They have cameras on every corner. They have 2 facilities on both sides of the streets, and nobody saw anything. I mean, you could say, hey, man, you tripping. These dudes are ignorant. You never know. We could do that. But let's just be reasonable, man. You're talking about, okay, let's just say you believe that these were some rappers or some gangbangers upset with him. Are they some type of hitmen or ninjas or something like that? And then the way the media reports these violent acts throughout the country. They're not just in Chicago, but you know what? I'm not going to defend Chicago anymore. If you're foolish enough to believe that, God bless you. That's your deal. I get it. I understand. But in the city of Chicago, again, what makes you think that all these acts of violence throughout the city of Chicago are exclusively in our communities? Because you've been trained to think that. Me and my man Big Illinois a year ago, literally a year ago tomorrow, he and I had a show. We should call it the Backyard. I'll probably be starting up soon. I'm not sure. I don't know what he's gonna do with it. But we were talking about over the 4th of July weekend, how much violence was enacted. And I think it was 59 people shot in the city of Chicago over the weekend, right? Then me and him did a little research and found out that these acts of violence took place all over the city. And even our co-hosts assumed that it was in our area. So what we have to do is, again, stop assuming that you and people like you are the only people that are violent. Because if black on black crime is 91%, that means we are extremely busy killing each other according to the propaganda, right? We hurting and we're robbing, killing, shooting, and stealing from each other. That's it. That's what we're doing. So who's killing the white people in the world? Who's killing the Asian people in the world? Who killing the Latino people in the world? Whether you're Asian, Chinese, Japanese, or if you're Asian, Arab, or any part of that, who are killing these people? Because hey, I've been at that very Cook County jail to bond out a friend and a family member, and I saw somebody from every culture in the United States of America in there. So if there are white men getting killed, who are killing the white men? And just for the record, when you go to FBI.com, you see black men, black people, black on black crime. 91% of people that are hurt in the black community are hurt by other people, by black people. And when you go to white, you see 89. And when you see a Latino, you see 88. So if we were all in the same class, we would get the exact same grade. If you get a 91 on the test, you get an 89 on the test, or you get an 88 on the test, everybody get a B, which is probably a synonym, and we'll talk about this, is probably a synonym for bad. But we're not taught these things. And then you have to always question yourself. Why do I know the statistics on black crime, and I don't know the statistics on anything else? Ask yourself that. Why can you immediately quote about 90%, 89%, and then somebody asks you, so what are you juxtaposing that to? And you don't know. So how is something bad and you don't even know what to compare it to? I'll give you an example. if you tell somebody HRap got the best fried chicken in the world, have you ever tasted anybody else fried chicken? No. So how you know his is the best? Well, because he said so or they said so. So if you're not comparing this to anything, don't quote these things because you really make yourself look uninformed, and then you make yourself look like a programmed person. And I don't anticipate any of you being programmed. I anticipate the people who support my show being intelligent people. So if you're an intelligent person and you don't know what you're juxtaposing this to, you can't say one thing is bad unless you say it's all bad. Because last time I checked, violence is a human thing. Where no matter where you look on the globe, you see and you see acts of violence. The Chinese and the Japanese had issues. The Chinese and the Indian population have issues. A lot of the countries, on the 53 countries, they've had issues. Europe, they were fighting each other. They called it the Dark Ages. It had issues. So don't look at yourself as some person who has the patent on violence, because you don't. Now, people will tell you that, but you don't, man. You don't. It's time to, again, stop falling for the nonsense that you see put in front of you. And then when people get you a statistic, that does not mean anything, because a statistic can that's just the way it works. There are no exacts in this. When you're telling me this is what's bad over here, if you don't know the entire story, just accept it, research it. Look, the thing that you have in your hand, you call a phone, it's a computer, and that phone stronger than the computer that got people allegedly to the moon in 1968, 69. Stronger computer. So if your phone is stronger than the computer that was strong enough to get people to the moon, you have to ask yourself, is this a tool or a toy? You must ask yourself, is this a tool or is this a toy? Now, if it's a toy, then keep playing with it. If it's a tool, then use it to the best of your ability to get the information that you need out of it. For example, you have a guy who is reportedly insanely intelligent, Ben Carson. And when you have somebody like Ben Carson, what you do is you assume, because he's a neurosurgeon, that he has an extreme amount of intelligence. And when you have somebody with an extreme amount of intelligence, when you listen to them, you assume that the information that you're giving them is going to be accurate and correct in quality, right? But it's not. Ben Carson said yesterday, or the day before, I think it was yesterday, that welfare in the United States of America had a more ill effect than the slave trade. This might be one of the stupidest things I've ever heard anybody say in my life. First and foremost, we're not the largest population that uses public aid, welfare. We're not the largest portion of the population to do that. Another thing, when you look at our women, they're the most educated group of women on the face of the earth. We're not far behind. So exactly what are you talking about, Mr. Carson? Contrary to popular belief, we are not an impoverished community. Now, if you're going to look at TV and judge us in the course of what you see on TV, then yeah, you'll be dumb enough to believe something that's stupid. But how could you tell me that the erasing of your entire existence on the earth before 1619, being beat and your religion, your culture, your God removed from you, is equivalent to something that you didn't even have the capability to get 100 years ago? See, these are the things in propaganda. These are the points and propaganda points that a lot of stupid ass folks in our community hold on to, and then they point at people and they judge people. See, he got his pants hanging off his butt. See, she got a rag on her head. Look at how ignorant they are. And this is why we must start looking into things versus allowing someone to tell us who and what we are. 1962, W.B. Du Bois said, in a little while, these laws, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, shortly, these laws of discrimination will be removed. Segregation, will be removed. And when you enter a segregated school, You will lose your identity. Your children will want to drop out of those institutions, and you'll become a figment of someone else's imagination. And that's exactly what's happening. See, we misinterpreted as a community what our great ancestor, great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about. He says you should have the ability to do whatever you want. That does not mean stop using the services that are in our community. We used to get our own clothes made. We used to eat at our own restaurants. We used to rent from each other. We used to have a wonderful community when we did not start using the white man's ice. His ice isn't colder, his water isn't wetter, his soap does not foam up better. But for whatever reason, we assume that. And the moment we start integrating, we start seeing, oh, it's better over here, but it's not better over here. What it is you have tax dollars being invested into other communities. We are not engaging civically because because we had terrorist groups like the Ku Klux Klan chasing us down and killing us and creating greatness from that. If you want to believe, go back a week and look at Fannie Lou Hamer. She used to literally pick cotton for her sharecropping parents. They fired her from a cotton picking job, and she became one of the most seminal people in the history of our community. Fannie Lou Hamer. You might know her from a phrase that she said she's sick and tired of being sick and tired. No, Drake 3000 from Outkast did not invent that. That's Fannie Lou Hamer. She stepped up and said, I want to get civically involved. When she got civically involved, you had your president, Lyndon Baines Johnson, say, I'm afraid of that woman. Because he knew she would galvanize the community and put us on the right path. See, again, you don't learn about these things because they feel basically the more we keep away from you, the more we'll keep your greatness away from you. And we keep your greatness away from you. You will live a life assuming and attempting to be a part of this American criminal organization. Because that's all it is. It's a settler project that's ended up a criminal organization. And that's just the honest to God truth. All you have to do is read what Frederick Douglass said. Frederick Douglass said the same thing. Stop trying to be involved in these holidays because these holidays give you the perception that you'll someday be part of the construct. And you don't really need to be part of the construct because we have our own construct. You have people who transferred information from the continent and transfer information through bondage. And once you start researching that, you'll realize if my ancestors 100 years ago can create Wilmington, North Carolina, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Peoria, Illinois, Africatown, Alabama, as well as in the city of Los Angeles. It's a community called Africatown. When you realize that it's an Africatown that was created right out of bondage, because you were not a slave. You were enslaved, but you're not a slave. Don't identify yourself and your ancestors as slaves. They are prisoners of war. But when you look at your history and you see the things that you've accomplished just here in America, then you'll realize the greatness that derives from in other countries. You'll realize you're unstoppable once focused. But if you get distracted by clothes and cars and things and not community and people, humanity, then that's when you lose. That's exactly when you lose. You must stay on code. One of the codes we must stay on, we must ignore the foolishness of a Ben Carson, the Candace Owens of the world. No need to even talk about those things. And we stay on code. One of the codes we've severely started to violate within the last 40 years is talking about personal business in public. I understand that things annoy you and you want to be heard because you're part of a community that has been subjugated for 400 years. So you feel like you need to be heard, and your ancestors need to be heard through you, but your ancestors don't need to be heard publicly. Because if you're not going to get on social media, or if you're not going to get on any of these news programs and talk about how horrendous your life was and want the whole world to know about how your mother was this and your father was that, then don't tell everybody else's business. My brother, Mark Lamont Hill, awesome brother. He had he had Joe Brown, the elder Joe Brown, on the show. And he was talking about our elder Bill Cosby. And we were dragging, he was attempting to drag Bill Cosby. And everything he said was, but what if? But what if? But guess what? The man, Woody Allen, he is clearly a pedophile, in my opinion. I haven't seen him do anything, but in my opinion, I think he's a pedophile. Nobody in the other communities talking about him. Robert Blake. when you talk about murdering wives or sketchy situations where wives are murdered, you go to O.J. Simpson. You don't bring up Robert Blake. You don't bring up Natalie Wood. Natalie Wood died on the boat with her husband. I can't think of it. Robert Wagner. They had a tumultuous relationship. They were always fighting, but you don't hear about that. You don't hear about Natalie Wood being found in the ocean after being on a boat with her husband all day. You don't hear about that. Why? But you hear about OJ. You hear about, when you talk about athletics and violence, you hear about Ray Rice, and you hear about all these other guys when you had other people beating their wives way before them. But they put that brown, they put that melanin in front of you. So you assume that black men are innately violent, black women are chicken necked and ignorant, and they create these subcultures that we have bought into, like the joke that Chris Rock told. I laughed at it. I think it's funny at this very moment. I think it's funny, but there's no such thing as a black man in the N word, or a black woman in the N word. Nah, we ain't none of that. That's funny. That's good for banter, but we're not gonna accept that. It's for joke purposes. It's so people can be entertained. It's not so you can identify our sisters and the sisters can identify the brothers. And if you buy into it, you have officially lost. Because the moment you allow somebody to define who you are, you become a figment of their imagination. Whatever they think, that's what you will be, and that's what you are. So if they call you the H word if you're a sister, if they call you the P word if you're a brother, if you allow them to dominate, that's who you become. And you don't need to be any of that. So I just beg of you, man, I just beg of you for just not to fall for the nonsense. My man Ali said Chicago's getting a bad name for a reason I don't even see. The reason is, this is my man Ali. He's a supporter on the show. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for writing that in the notes and in the comment section. In my opinion, Ali, the reason is the same reason anything. Chicago has prime real estate. The entire city is within 3 miles of a lake. We have beachfront property throughout the entire city. They wanted to move and in the late 60s, early 70s, we were in the midst of white flight, much like the city of Detroit. And rich, affluent people are trying to come back to the city and get that very property. The very property that you guys hear about all the time is right down the street from the University of Chicago, one of the most esteemed institutions in the United States of America, and where the former President Barack Obama lived. But right outside of that, some of the most impoverished some of the more impoverished people in the city, and they want those people out of the way so they can get that land. They did the same thing in the late 80s with the city of Los Angeles. They made you think that if you got off a plane in Los Angeles, the Crips and the Bloods would be shooting at you. And then they did it before that with the city of Baltimore. And they did it before that with New Jersey and New York. When people are attempting to take over something, they must destroy it first. And then, when they destroy it, they move in, the rich people move in and rebuild it. I've seen it. Ali, thank you for participating in the show. I've seen it 3 times. As a matter of fact, Ali, the places that I grew up at are non-existent because the people who are in control of the city have taken over that. University of Chicago, even something as powerful as the Oscar Mayer hot dog factory is knocked down. My football field, I played Little League, and football and baseball is knocked down. Where I played basketball is knocked down, and there are condos and restaurants and things of that nature right there. My man Ray the Cavs just said the same thing is happening in New Orleans. See, that's the thing. We're looking at it and we assume everything is bad. I keep saying this, y'all. We have to stop calling our neighborhoods bad because, okay, it's 15 dudes, it's 8 dudes on this corner, it's 12 dudes on this corner. That's a bad neighborhood. So what you've totally done is disregarded the people who just walked in the house from work or on their way out of the house to work. You totally disregarded them. They mean nothing because it's 24 guys in the neighborhood looking foolish, right? But it's 300 people in these homes taking care of their kids. We cannot allow other people to determine who and what we are. Again, this is leading to the demise of us because when we go, that's a bad neighborhood, then we don't talk to each other because I don't know if you're one of the bad people. But guess what? Crime is nothing new. I do this to all my friends that talk about how bad things are today. When you hear the word drive-by shooting, you immediately think Crips, Bloods, Vice Lords, Gangster Disciples, or whatever street organization that are in your community. You immediately go right to us. But you don't go back 100 years and look at Al Capone and those guys who invented this drive-by shooting thing. I'm a criminal justice major. When I was in college, one of the first things a professor told me, former police officer professor, he said, hey, who steals the most, rich people or poor people? Everybody immediately said poor people. He said, no, rich people steal the most. He said, if you steal something out of a department store, or these people who run these credit card scams and things of that nature, they steal $200,000-$300,000 as a collective. But you got people on Wall Street stealing billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. You got a damn energy company in Texas that was shut down due to thievery. Dude had one of the dudes who was stealing out of Enron had a gold umbrella stand. A gold umbrella stand. That's how much he was stealing. He was stealing so much that he ran out of things to buy. And he bankrupted the energy company. So don't tell me that these dudes are on these corners doing all these nefarious things. Oh, these scammers. We come from a country of scammers. They scammed from coast to coast. If you don't believe me, I'll do again. This is why you need to be watching on Monday, the forecast. And then if you get a chance, go to HBO Max and go look up Exterminate the Brutes. And then everything that I'm saying will fall right into place. We cannot allow people to talk us into publicly humiliating each other. See, I'm just keeping it real. I'm just telling the truth. But if your daughter was Sha'Carri Richardson, you wouldn't be outside talking about her. You'd be in the house going, damn it, she blew it. You'd be upset, but you still love your daughter. If Ray Rice was your son and he slapped his wife, as a man, you'd be like, you mother. But guess what? You ain't finna call your brother. You know what your nephew just did. And you ain't gonna call your neighbor. You know what Lil Greg just did. You're not gonna do that. So what we need to do is stop. Hey, since people love saying like that community, like everybody else community, we can talk about it amongst each other. You can call your sister and be like, Phyllis, let me tell you what your nephew did. Bo, let me tell you what your nephew did. And it's gonna stay between Bo, Phyllis, and Rap. We ain't telling the world. We're not telling the world. So why do we feel the need to go on TV and show that we're virtuous? I keep quoting this one dude. I was on the show with a dude, and he told us we're the only people that like criminals. Well, who's Al Capone? Who's Frank Nady? Who is Momo Giancana? Y'all know these people. Some people never been to New York, but you know who John Gotti is. You ask somebody, what's your favorite movie? Goodfellas. Nationwide, no matter what culture it is. Godfather, Goodfellas, any of the crime drama. But we're so stupid. We use the drugs. The dude who told me black people only black people are stupid enough to use drugs was smoking a cigarette and having a drink. Hey, bro, if you think people who use drugs are stupid and you smoking a cigarette, guess what? You dumber than the person who using the cocaine or the heroin. Because on the package of heroin, it does not say, don't smoke this, it'll kill you. But on cigarettes, it do. And everybody knows somebody with a drunk alcoholic relative. All of us got drunk alcoholic relatives. So you looked at somebody in your family more than likely, or a friend or a neighbor who had an alcohol problem, and you said, let me get a swig of that. And you know somebody, we know celebrities and family members who have died of lung cancer, cirrhosis of the liver, and you drink. But the drug addicts are stupid. Really? I'm just saying. So what we're going to do is stay on code. When you ask me something about somebody that's in my community, I don't give a damn if I hate them like the devil hate God. I'm not saying anything because guess what? We don't have to. We don't have to. You know what I'm saying? It's just insane. My man said Vikings is another watch, so watch that too. Thank you, Ali, for being a part of the show. And if you want something to say, please write it on the Spreaker.com side, like my brother Ali, or write it on YouTube side. This shouldn't just be a dissertation by me. You can engage. If I say something that you don't agree with, feel free. Tell you what, if I say something too bad you don't agree with, I'll drop the link and then we can talk about it in front of everybody. That's what I'm talking about. I don't need to be telling you what we need to do. We need to be having a conversation about this. Add something to the conversation. Feel free. And if I see it and if it's poignant, I'm gonna say something. And then my man said he from the West Side. He totally understand. And he said something else. We do need to be buying these communities back. It's not difficult to buy a block in the city of Chicago. Sometimes they have these things that you do to go to recorder deeds and find out what some of these vacant lots. Some of the time they selling them for $1. That's all I'm saying, brothers and sisters. We must share information. We're willing to share information about horrific information and bad news and the bad things that go on. We're going to need to start sharing information about how to excel and prevail. We're going to stop buying into the propaganda. I got a question since we talking. I got a question. Sha'Carri Richardson, everybody's upset that she made a mistake. She didn't actually, I'm not gonna say she made a mistake. She made a poor decision because she knew what she was doing. Sister said she knew exactly what she was doing. I'm with it. I ain't mad at her, But question: is it time for us to stop even participating in the Olympics? Because there are books that are written internationally about how people buy into the propaganda, how black people are this and black people are that, and Africans are this and Africans are that, and the people from the United States are just lazy. Black people from the United States are just lazy. You got laws being typed up every day to further discriminate against us. Why are we busting our behinds? Exactly, brother. Conversation for understanding. Why are we busting our behinds to represent this flag? Guess what? For those sisters and brothers that bust their behinds to represent this country, I'm going to watch and support. But why do we do it? It's like, every war in the history of this country, every single solitary war in the history of this country, we have participated in it and we've helped them win. We have helped them win every freaking war in the country. The Revolutionary War, the War 1812, the Civil War. For those who don't know, the War 1812, when the British asked for a rematch. The Civil War, World War I and II. We all did that. We helped them win. There are millions, well, I don't say millions, there are dozens and dozens of stories about people from our community and units from our community came through and saved the day. Y'all heard me say it time and time again. We freed ourselves. We didn't get freed. If they didn't win that war until they gave our ancestors the guns, and when they gave the ancestors the guns, they got their asses kicked. Period. So why are we, again, begging for acceptance? Begging for acceptance. I want y'all to look at this small video, and I'll be right back shortly. This is very informative. I need you to know these things, and that's why I put them in the show, in the middle of the show, because you need to know these things to further enhance your superpower, because you are good at something. I don't care if it's being a DJ. I don't care if it's being a pop locker. It's something you're good at. And when you see videos like this that help you see that, please stay tuned. Listen, if you're on the Spreaker.com side. Look, if you're on the YouTube side. And if you want to get the link from the Spreaker.com side, I send that over there too.
I know thy works, and tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich. Welcome to the Black Excellence and Abundance Channel. In 1706, an enslaved West African man was purchased by an enslaver, Cotton Mather. He was a Puritan and a minister. Yes, folks, a minister who was also a slaver. Be that as it may, in 1716, an enslaved West African man by the name Onesimus told his enslaver something he did not believe, that he knew how to prevent smallpox. Onesimus suggested a potential way to keep people from getting sick from smallpox. But of course, Cotton Mather did not believe that the cure could come from this black man, nor did he trust him. When it was discovered that smallpox had made its way to Boston and was spreading rapidly, it was terrifying to the colonies in Massachusetts. Hundreds of residents of the busy and crowded colonial town had started to flee for their lives, frightened of what might happen if they exposed themselves to this frequently deadly disease. They had good reason to fear. The virus was extremely contagious, spreading like wildfire in large epidemics. But the smallpox epidemics of 1721 was different than any that came before it, as sickness swept through the city, killing hundreds in a time before modern medical treatment had an understanding of infectious diseases. Smallpox was one of the era's deadliest afflictions. Few diseases at this time were as universal or fatal, notes historian Susan Pryor. The colonists saw its effect not just among their own countrymen, but among the Native Americans to whom they introduced the disease. This deadly disease destroyed Native communities that with no immunity were unable to fight off the virus. It wasn't until a Boston advertisement for a cargo of about 250 enslaved people recently arrived from Africa circa 1700, particularly stressed that the enslaved people are free of the smallpox, having been quarantined on the ship. The news caught the attention of Mather. Intrigued by Onesimus' idea, Dr. Zablia Boyston and Mather began listening to Onesimus and used the method he suggested to try to stop the smallpox in its tracks. Mather was fascinated. He verified Onesimus' story with that of other enslaved people and learned that the practice had been used in Turkey and China. He became an evangelist for inoculation, also known as variolation, and spread the word throughout Massachusetts and elsewhere in the hopes it would help prevent smallpox. Onesimus, who is a pretty intelligent fellow, wrote Cotton Mather, told him he had smallpox and then he hadn't. Onesimus said that he had undergone an operation which had given him something of the smallpox and would forever preserve him from it, and whoever had the courage to use it was forever free of the fear of contagion. The operation Onesimus referred to consisted of rubbing pus from an infected person into an open wound on the arm. Once the infected material was introduced into the body, the person who underwent the procedure was inoculated against smallpox. It wasn't a vaccination, which involves exposure to a less dangerous virus to provoke immunity, but it did activate the recipient's immune response and protect it against the disease most of the time. But Mather hadn't bargained on how unpopular the idea would be. The same prejudices that caused him to distrust his servant made other white colonists reluctant to undergo a medical procedure developed by or for black people. A local newspaper at the time, called the New England Courier, ridiculed him. An explosive device was thrown through his window with an angry note. There was an ugly racial element to the anger. Religion also contributed. Other preachers argued that it was against God's will to expose his creatures to dangerous diseases. But in 1721,
Mather and Dr. Boylston, the only physician in Boston who supported the technique, got their chance to test the power of inoculation. That year, he inoculated his son and his enslaved workers against the disease. Then he began inoculating other Bostonians. Of the 242 people he inoculated, only 6 died, 1 in 40. As opposed to the 1 in 7 deaths among the population of Boston who didn't undergo the procedure. The smallpox epidemic wiped out 844 people in Boston, over 14% of the population, but it had yielded hope for future epidemics. It also helped to set the stage for vaccinations. It is unclear if Onesimus lived to see the success of the techniques he introduced to Mather. What is clear is that this procedure saved hundreds of lives. And this little-known black man from Africa had a huge success on the development of vaccinations that we still use to this day. And a footnote. In 1980, the World Health Organization declared smallpox entirely eradicated due to the spread of immunization worldwide. It remains the only infectious disease to have been entirely wiped out, in no small part due to the contributions of Onesimus. So you see, ladies and gentlemen, we were at the forefront of the science of inoculations, which led to the vaccinations that are used today. Thank you, Brother Onesimus. The Black Excellence and Abundance Channel, where Black history is every day.
Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And remember, thou art rich.
Thank you for tuning in. This is your man, HRap B, coming at you live and direct on Built for This Network on Spreaker.com and on YouTube. The End of the Bench podcast, Build and Destroy, where I attempt to build up the community and destroy the lies and propaganda that's surrounding our community. As you see, as I keep telling you, man, this is my mission in life, to continue to uplift me, you, and everybody else who won't tune in to this. People can call me anti what they want. I'm not going to stop and say I'm not anti that, because I know who I am. I don't have to describe or defend anything that I'm saying. I'm telling you this straight up and down. You can either accept it or not. I'm not saying one bad thing about nobody else's self-hate mongers. And if you're one of those people, sucks to be you. You shouldn't be hating people anyway. But anyway, man, as you see, we come from greatness. No matter what situation we in, we build the entire world out. So you look, and the reason I want us to understand this is because sometimes you don't wake up until you're 50. Sometimes you wake up when you're 14. Sometimes you're born with it. Nobody should be ostracized for what they haven't done or cannot do, or something that you perceive they cannot do. We need to support each other, because with that support, that's why you get so many different stories put in front of you, because they know if we start taking sides and we just refuse to support each other, then what will happen? What will happen is this: we will continue to fail, continue to struggle, and fall flat on our faces on a regular basis. And that's just the bottom damn line. You can play these games, and I've made it, and my nephew and nieces and cousins and friends and neighbors haven't, and you could feel like a big man because you've made it, or you could reach back and really be a big man and do what you have to do to survive. And survival is not driving in a nice car. Winning is not living in a big house. Winning is helping people get to the level you're at, because guess what? The more you lift them, the higher you become. You lift them, you become higher. Another thing I want to talk about in regards to the sports world, I don't do a whole lot of talking in the sports world, but you see, a couple of days ago, England lost the World Championships, and the first thing out people's mouths on Twitter and on social media, and they throwing bananas and things like that at our brothers over there, calling them the N-word and things of that nature. Look, I keep telling y'all, man, And if this thing is buffering, it's because I keep telling the truth and YouTube is acting a fool because I'm directly connected to my internet and I see my TV working fine. So my internet needs to be working fine as well. But I'm not going to worry about that because I got Spreaker.com to fall back on. And if you want to hear this, you can go to YouTube with the Built for This Network. You can go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, or Amazon and type in Built for This Network. And if you got anything buffering and you to hear something, you can go there and get the show in its entirety. So you don't have to worry about missing out on anything because I'm double-breasted. I'm not going to allow anybody or anything to slow me down. And if it does slow me down, hell, I will record this. I will record this and post it at a later date, and then it ain't no buffering. Put it like that. So they can stop doing what they're trying to do to slow me down. Now, like I was saying, man, when I asked the question about supporting people who don't support us, this soccer championship is a perfect example why you need to stop calling yourself Black, call yourself African, reach across the aisle at our Haitian brothers, our Caribbean brothers, our South American brothers, our brothers to the north, our brothers in Mexico, and our brothers, people who look like us all over the globe. Because if you don't, you will continue to be subject to the tyranny of people who don't like you. And I don't hear about, well, some of this and some of that. Look, in a couple of days, if you watch it, do yourself a favor and watch the ESPYs. And you look at this young lady who's 19 years old, 19-year-old young white girl. And all she did was big up Black women. That's an ally right there, brothers and sisters. All these people who swear they allies and stand on the sideline and watch us get kicked in the head. No, sir. I'm not trying to hear none of that. They ain't doing us no good. I don't need no friends to hold my coat while I fight. Either you're gonna be in the fight with me or you fighting against me. Period. That's it. Those are the only options. And when people say, well, this was an isolated incident and you can't think that everybody over there is like that. It's this soccer player named Neymar. Neymar got bananas and the N-word threw at him. He picked up the bananas and ate them, was like, yeah, what, he threw it in their face because he was flamboyant. But everybody isn't a captain like that. Everybody isn't a general. Some of us are meant to be led. And that's nothing wrong with you. You the best employee in the world. You're the employee of the month. But you must also have pride. You must have pride. And you must be able to identify who's attacking you. And when you identify who's attacking you, then you move forward and get things taken care of. Period. And it's full stop. That's it. Stop laying down and accepting other people's disrespect. You wouldn't accept somebody in your neighborhood disrespecting you. You wouldn't accept a brother, cousin, aunt, uncle, friend, neighbor, or anybody else disrespecting you. So why would you accept disrespect from anybody outside your community? It could be a misunderstanding inside your community, but when you get throwing these things around, these superlatives, this disrespectful verbiage, these racial slurs and epithets at people, that means this has been on your chest for a little while and you were just waiting for the opportunity to spit it out. So go ahead and spit it out, but don't get mad. Just be glad and say, hey, you have identified this and you know what the problem is. Period. And exactly like my brother Ali said, we have to learn to we have to learn and do research to truly know who we are. Thank you. That's all you have to do, because when you consistently letting people take shots at you and disrespect you for no reason whatsoever, you are telling them it's okay. Everybody isn't evil. Everybody that look like a look, we got a saying in our community, and all y'all know it. All skin folk ain't kin folk, and everybody on the outside don't need to be pushed away. And that's just the bottom line. But when you identify these things, that's why I don't care. Keep them damn statues up. Let people ride around with those flags. Let people do all that stuff. Let them do it. Because guess what? I ain't got to guess no more. I don't have to guess at all. It is, you have been identified as an adversary. I ain't got no hate for you, and I ain't got no love for you, and I have no time for you. Now, if necessary, we may have to do business at some point, and that's cool too. I'll do business with you, and when the business is taken care of, I'm gonna go left, you go right. We don't have to destroy anybody. But guess what? If we are let alone, we'll destroy tyranny. We'll destroy the power of tyranny. We'll destroy the power of discrimination. We'll destroy the power of hate. Because if we can get this far with one arm tied behind our back, just imagine what you could get in a fair fight. And that's why you're dealing with these things. What we're going to have to start doing is supporting our sisters like Gwen Berry. If you don't know who Gwen, I'm not telling you who Gwen Berry is. G-W-E-N Berry, B-E-R-R-Y. Look her up. You should know who she is. This is a sister who's about to go to the Olympics, and she lost sponsorships and a whole lot of stuff supporting us. These, just like Kyle Rittenhauser got money for shooting those 2 white boys in Wisconsin. What we need to be doing is creating a GoFundMe for our sister Gwen Berry and other people who stand up for us. So when they lose sponsorship for taking up for us, for fighting for our causes, they could be comfortable. They could go home to $1 million. Or if they had a $10 million deal, it's 50 million of us. We need to be sending Gwen money. Them sisters in the WNBA, hey, I'm not trying to point no finger at nobody, but the sisters in the city, in America, we need to see y'all in no more Michael Jordan jerseys, no more LeBron jerseys. We need to see y'all in some more jerseys than them sisters up there. We need to be buying WNBA t-shirts, because those sisters up there, they getting paid decent job money and they putting everything on the line. So no more, especially these dudes who ain't speaking up for the community. Hey, if you just getting a paycheck and you getting gym shoes, we need to be buying Kyrie Irving jerseys. We need to be buying Kyrie Irving gym shoes and stuff like that. We need to be getting the Maya Moores and all them sisters up there in the WNBA. We need to be supporting the hell out of them. We need to make them the #1 jerseys in America. I know they don't make those for men, but we can buy some t-shirts with their name on it or something, because they sacrificing, and we need to be, if the racists and the bigots and the hate mongers can support Kyle Rittenhauser, the good folks need to be supporting these sisters in the WNBA and these brothers in the NBA and these brothers in the NFL who putting their livelihoods on the line for you. They ain't doing this for them because they can just shut up, like, no disrespect, but like Patrick Ewing, like Sugar Ray Leonard, like Charles Barkley, like all those dudes in the 80s. You didn't hear a word out of them because they were just getting them paychecks and going home. So what we need to do is stop identifying Candace Owens and Ben Carson and Jason Whitlock and all, and we call Stephen A. Smith a sellout and the coon and all that stuff. Stop identifying them, because guess what? The moment we stop saying their names, those networks are getting rid of them. Because the reason they're on TV, because if you get your audience mad, they turn back. He pissed me off. I ain't looked at him since. I don't care what Stephen A. Smith say or do, or Whitlock or any of those. Candace Owens, I never heard anything she said. I read a few things that she said. I heard her say some sucker stuff, and I said, enough. You will never get a conversation out of me. And I usually don't even say her name on my show, because she doesn't deserve any additional airtime. The reason these people are antagonists and protagonists in this world. And if you allow these antagonists to get your attention, you are a unofficial fool. Because that's exactly what they want you to do. Because when you complain, when you see somebody say something anti-Black on a network, and you go to social media and you go to Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and post videos, that let these people know, oh, they watching. Let them stay. But if we start talking about them, let him go. And that's just it, man. They mess with our girl Maria. Look, man, y'all could play these games, ESPN. This is nonsense. This is nonsense, because these things are distractions. Sister, I'm glad you got the job. I want you to get the most paycheck. But look, that sister's in a prime situation. Her contract expires the same day that Game 6 of the finals is here. If that finals goes 7 games, she might not be there Game 7, because ESPN still ain't hit her with the bread. But Amazon and Yahoo and all these people, they are bidding on her. And we need to not worry about that sister, because she cool. she's cool. But what we do need to worry about is Arizona. So Arizona took something to the Supreme Court, and what they did is said it's okay to continue to block voters. Voter suppression is okay because Arizona was never supposed to be rolling with people of color. The Indians, the people that we call Indians, they was never supposed to start voting. The Latinos was never supposed to start voting. And these brothers and sisters, they was never supposed to start voting. So what we're going to do is make it harder. Now, that's cool. But what we need to do is create a plan to get there early. Now it is illegal for you to be 80 years old and my grandmother, and you hand me my vote, you hand me your form, and I take it to the ballot. It's illegal to do that now. But you gonna tell me you got these morons running around here talking about voters' rights, and we're American and we're patriot. How patriotic is that to stop the elderly, the people who created this whole situation that we in? The people who, because guess what? There's going to be some white folks get jammed with that too. But see, they just want to make sure the Latinos, the native people, the indigenous people, and us, the creators, don't vote as much. But all we do is pivot, just like you thought we weren't going to get away from that bondage. You thought we weren't going to get out of this no school thing. You thought we weren't going to do everything that we've done. Every time you said we can, we have. So we're not finna wait until November 2022 to get things in order. What we're going to do as a community is we're going to game plan today, tomorrow, and every day up until then. We're going to start I need y'all to get every one of y'all friends and homies and family members registered to vote. And it's like, and I understand that people say, oh, vote don't work. But vote don't work when you voting for some goofball who getting paid. Now, if you get me in play or somebody you trust in play or some sister you trust in play and we get them in office, then, like the sister down there in St. Louis, you got a lady in Colorado, I can't think of her name, Burden. I had her name wrote down. Damn it. Lauren Boebert. This chick is a high school dropout and she's a congressperson. I'm going to say it again. She's a high school dropout and is speaking in front of the Senate and the Congress. She is preaching that people who are staying at home to avoid getting even this new strand of COVID, and whether you believe it or not, look, if you believe it, you right. If you don't believe it, you right too. Now shut the hell up. But she telling people who staying at home, who trying to stay out of danger, who getting this extra money that they're wrong. But you dropped out of high school. Oh, they're not hard workers. How hard was it? You 34 years old. You've only had your GED a year. How lazy are you? Oh, you got pregnant in high school? Yeah, you did. So did my mama. She graduated. So did my sister. She graduated. So did millions of other sisters in this world, and they graduated. So miss me with that. So the very people you trying to talk about and call them the disenfranchised people you talk about, they better than you. Exactly. My man just said something. He just said a word. Hold folks accountable. Hold folks accountable. Thanks for coming on the other side, Ali. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the support. And everybody who listens, I need y'all, if you're on the speaker side, hit the like button. If you're on this side, hit the like, the share, and the subscribe, and the notification button, man. So you get the notifications anytime. If I might do a pop-up, sometimes people can't do it on Tuesday or Saturday. They might hit me on another day, and then I go on in, and then we in. We in like flame. But we need to get control of our situation. We can't allow people to stand there idiotic ass. You didn't even graduate from high school. Ain't nothing wrong with a GED, man. There's nothing wrong with a GED. But if you're 34 years old and you only had yours for a year, and then you want to stand in front of Congress and brag about you can't find people for your restaurant to work for you. Maybe you can't find people in your restaurant because you got 17 health code violations because you're sitting around poisoning people. Maybe that's why don't nobody want to come work for you. Maybe you didn't know how to read the codes. Maybe that's why you dropped out of school, since you just want to characterize everybody around you as lazy. So we got to get past these things, y'all. Your rights are being under attack. Like my man Ali said on the other page, get the Black Laws Dictionary, all volumes. because you must, in order to fight and play this game, you must know the rules of the game. You must teach your kids the rules of the game. This I got rights thing is moronic because you also know that looking like this, people don't respect your rights. This is another reason why, as a group, we can win. Look, you can break somebody's finger. You in a fight with somebody, you can break somebody's hand, but a fist, you ain't never heard. I broke my fist on this dude because a fist is designed to strike. A finger can be broken, a hand can be broken. Fists are not broken. So we must galvanize our community and stop allowing people to dictate to us who we are. And if you ever want an example of standing up for who you are, Nicole Hannah Jones, we need to get her damn holiday. If you don't know who Nicole Hannah Jones is, she is one of the most decorated writers in the United States of America within the last 50 years. She's respected worldwide. She's an alumnus of the University of North Carolina. She was a former employee at the University of North Carolina. She went there to be a professor. And get tenure, which means if I have radical ideas, you won't bother me because they are not in line with what you see and like. That's what tenure is for. When you have tenure, you are able to come up with things like critical race theory. So you can have people argue against you. And then it is not law, but no matter how true or untrue it is, guess what? You can't be touched because you are in a thought-provoking circle. They told her, after this, you don't get tenure. Part of the tenure process is to have the professors at the institution vote on you to see if you are worthy of tenure. She was worthy by unanimous vote. And they said, we'll give you a 5-year deal and offer a lot of money. This is why we have to get out of this concept of chase the bag, that foolishness, because they was going to give her the bag. And because they offered her the bag, because the perception that of their imaginations is Black people take that money over principle. But she didn't. And just like our brother, the young brother LeBron James did, he took his talent to South Beach. He stayed up in Cleveland. Y'all want to give me 300-year-old Shaq and a bunch of Rudies? Cool. I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. This sister took her talents to an HBCU along with this $20 million that she had raised that would have gone to the University of North Carolina. This is a perfect example of what I've been telling you guys about when I used to do a sports show. Stop telling me if I'm the best running back in the nation and I go to an HBCU, I ain't going to get the exposure. If you're the best in the nation, they follow you wherever you go. If I'm the number one of anything, if I'm the number one criminal in America, the news follows me around. The police follow me around. If I'm the number one basketball player, the news follows me around. You bring attention to them. We must stop saying, well, you ain't going to get the exposure. Well, how the hell did Walter Payton get it? How the hell did Joe Green get it? Well, Joe Green didn't go to HBCU. Jerry Rice, Deacon Jones. So you got people from 3 different eras. Deacon Jones is the 50s and 60s. Walter Payton's the 70s, 80s. Or Jerry Rice is the 80s, 90s, 2000s. But they made it. John Stallworth, Doug Williams, some of your greatest and biggest heroes, Shannon Sharp, the brother that's on TV making everybody in the nation laugh at this point. If you like sports, you know who Shannon Sharp is, and you laughing at him every day, laughing with him every day. HBCU product. We don't need these people. Because when you got people like Doug Gottlieb, and you got people like Mike, not Greenberg, I can't think the other Greenberg on ESPN saying that Duke is doing these young people from disenfranchised community a favor by letting them in because Duke was Duke before you got there. Not a problem. Well, let me take my ass to Winston-Salem State. Let me take my ass to Grambling. Let me take my ass to Morris Brown University. Let me take my ass to Clark Atlanta, Morehouse, Howard University, FAMU, Arkansas Pine Bluff, Houston Tillerson, any of those schools. Let me go on over there. Let me go on down there, and then I'm going to be there killing it, and then the media going to follow me, and I'll never give you or ESPN an interview simply because without me, ESPN is PBS. See, we keep thinking other people have the power when you have the power. You have the power because you are the commodity. Just like when Stephen A. Smith made this stupid comment about the Asian man, it's rough that he has a translator and he can't be the face of the league because he needs a translator. Yes, he can, dummy, because he's from a country with 1 billion people in it. And if 1 billion people is watching his games, the people who on that team, they don't give a damn. They will learn his language and speak for him. But see, when you are a person who don't understand your power, those are the kinds of things that you say. Those are the kind of statements that you make. So these are the things. We must be more like Nicole Hannah-Jones and say, you know what, I'm going to go to Howard. And I'm going to take this $20 million that people gave me. I'm going to take that to Howard too. Now what? And guess what? 4 or 5 professors, some of them either from other cultures, left the University of North Carolina. How about this? Since y'all disrespected our sister, Nicole Hannah-Jones, we ain't letting our boys go there either to play no more basketball. We ain't letting our daughters go there to play no more basketball. We ain't letting our sons go there to play no more football. Oh, going down there with Prime, man. Going over there with Eddie George, man. Going down there with George Lynch in Atlanta at Clark Atlanta. Going over the Fist with Kenny Anderson. See, they keep calling these things stepping stone jobs because they want you to be prepared to get ready to leave because we're going to offer you the big money. But be just like our sister Nicole Hannah-Jones said, you keep your money. I'm going over here where I'm wanted, not tolerated. Be where you're wanted and respected, not tolerated. You don't have to settle for anything because you bring everything. And with that being said, I'm going to thank y'all for tuning in. This is your man, HRap. We are built for this network. I will see you Saturday at 5 p.m. Every Tuesday, every Saturday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 4 p.m. Mountain. But I want to thank y'all for tuning in. It's really appreciated. You know, as I state every week, you can catch me on Spreaker.com, Built for this network, YouTube, Built for this network, Apple Podcasts, Built for this network, Spotify, Built for this network, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, and Amazon Prime. The podcast is on Amazon Prime. Yes, indeed. You can get us. Anything on Built for this network is on Amazon Prime. Check us out, man. Subscribe, man. Subscribe, support, share, tell a friend, and tell a friend. Now I want to send a shout out to the people who inspire me every week. Tariq Nasheed, Noriega, Nori, Talib Kweli, Ray Grady, Zoe Williams, Corey Holcomb, Craig Fax, Al Sharpton, the great sister Heather B., the brother Clay Kane, the great sister Laree Daniel Favors, the elder Joe Madison, Baba Greg Carr, Dr. Greg Carr, head of Africana Studies at Howard University, and the Queen Mother Karen Hunter. Thank you again, Ali, and thank you, everybody, man. And always remember, man, if you see something, if you hear me say something that you don't like, this is about discourse. This is not about, man, I ain't trying to hear you. This is my platform. No. This is us trying to make us better. If you look at it on Spreaker.com, the subtitle is Conversations by Us, about us, to improve on us. So with that being said, man, thank y'all for the support. And y'all know how I end every show. Dream those dreams. It's a salute to Reggie O'Shea, a.k.a. Combat Jack. And I ended by saying what he used to say to end his shows. Dream those dreams, or man up and woman up and live those dreams. It's life without dreams flows in black and white. Life with dreams flows in Technicolor surround sound. And always remember, man, it's time to do something before something is done to you. This your man, HRap. 2 fingers, 1 word. I'm out. And I'm out on both sides. I was slipping.
Coming to shut it down. The crown holder. DJ Matt Knox.